محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وأصحابه بارك وسلم. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا، اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وزدنا علما يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك، آمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله. أزملنا.
Good, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Been a nice long break. I pray that all of you are well, inshallah ta'ala, that you had actually a good break and a few good weekends, and alhamdulillah, good to be back in class. Hopefully, inshallah, next week we'll be back in the masjid next week, inshallah. Imam Zakaria couldn't make it this week, so we thought we'll postpone for another week, inshallah. So hopefully we'll be seeing all of you or most of you soon back in class, inshallah. Okay, bismillah. We are on we finished the previous surah and now we are on Suratul Infitaar. There was I wonder if I can just pull it up here quickly. Let me just see if I can just find the surah quickly. Because the previous surah, Takwir, and this surah, the next surah, almost like a set of surahs that describe the year after. So in the tafsir, the Prophet says, yeah, the hadith comes in Tirmidhi, where the Prophet says, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من سره أن ينظر إلى يوم القيامة, whoever it would please to look and to see the day of Qiyamah, كأنه رؤيا عين كأنه رؤي عين, as if it is like the seeing of the eye, as if you want to see it like you want like a vivid description of the day of Qiyamah. فليقرأ, that person should read إذا الشمس كورت, the previous surah Takwir, and the next one إذا السماء انفطرت, and then the last one وإذا السماء انشقت. So the person should read those three surahs. So we are on surah number 2 of those three, if you want to have a description of Qiyamah. So this surah has like a very similar feel and pattern to the previous surah, Surah Al-Taqwir. So, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. However, in terms of revelation, the surah comes later than the previous surah. So the previous surah precedes it in terms of sequence and in terms of time of revelation. So, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. إِذَا السَّمَاءُ انفطرت. So what does the word fatara mean? Fatara, anybody? What's Allah's name? Al-Fatir. Allah's name Al-Fatir.
The originator or something.
The originator, good. So the originator and Fatara, anybody? You can look it up quickly. Sabra says good to split and to crack open. So to split or to crack open. And Allah's name Al-Fatir is it's a creation that hasn't been preceded before. It's almost like something split open and something new emerge that didn't happen before, or happened basically almost from non-existence. That's the meaning of Fatir, Allah's name. But Fatirat here would mean when the Sama'un is cracked open. So when we think about the heavens being cracked open, the heavens are basically like canopy. It's canopy in the day in terms of we have like a blue sky, we have a sun, and we have clouds, and a canopy at night that we have a dark sky, and we have planets and stars and meteors and all the heavenly bodies, and they're all set in a certain pattern. So the day and night's in a certain pattern, and the stars are in a certain pattern. And aside from like a physical crack, it's almost as if basically all the regular patterns of day and night, of sun, of stars, of moon, everything is going to be like split apart, like cracked open. Like when it comes to Qiyamah, all the norms of nature becomes completely like destroyed, inverted, changed. So this is an indication towards that. وإذا الكواكب وإذا الكواكب انتثرت. وإذا and when الكواكب. What's كواكب?
Stars.
Okay, it's stars, but also it's going to also be include also other than stars as well. So it will include planets. It will basically be heavenly bodies. Whereas the word, for example, what's the other word for the other word for stars? So Nuran, Bismillah. It
Najm.
is Najm or Nujum. So Najm or Nujum generally refers to stars specifically, whereas Kawakib would refer to stars and other heavenly bodies like moons and planets and so on. Because obviously stars are light emitting, and some other heavenly bodies are just light reflecting. So Kawakib would include be more, it will be more general than Nujum. So Kawakib is going to be, they'll translate it as stars, but it refers actually to all the heavenly bodies. Intatharat means what?
To be scattered.
To be scattered. So intatharat means like almost like when you take something and you throw the thing on the ground in different places. So like you just like you like just spread things out. So the scattered here is referring to out of their normal orbits, out of their normal courses. In the previous verse, let's say, what about the stars? It's good to kind of compare the two. What did it say about the previous verse about the stars? وَإِذَا النُّجُومُ كَدَرَتْ. What is the meaning there of the nujum there? What does inkadrat mean again?
When it falls and it loses like its sparkle, luster.
Loses its luster. And you can see why nujum is more appropriate there.
Yeah.
Because nujum is light emitting. So when that light emitting stars, they lose their luster and they fall. Where here Allah is speaking about similar kind of messaging, but here is that those heavenly bodies just start scattering out of their normal orbit, out of their normal courses. وَإِذَا الْبِحَارُ فُجِّرَتْ. وَإِذَا الْبِحَارُ. What's bihar?
The sea.
The seas or the ocean, and bahr is going to be a sea, so bihar is going to be the seas, the oceans. Fujirat. What's fujirat?
To explode or to burst forth like fajr.
To
Fajara.
explode or to burst forth like fajr, like the light bursting forth, like in fajra, when the water comes out. You know, when the spring comes out, we say in fajra al-ma. When the water comes out, in terms of it gushes forth and covers the area around it. So here the oceans are going to basically gush forth, and they're going to cover land basically. So it's similar to the one where the sujjat also meant the idea of overflowing and covering. Next one, وَإِذَا الْقُبُورُ بُعْثِرَتْ. وَإِذَا and when al-qubur, the graves, bu'thirat. Bu'thirat means what?
Turn something upside down.
So what's the meaning of that?
To empty.
To empty, to turn something
Overturned.
upside down. I read something interesting here in this tafsir, which I didn't actually think about or know before actually. Let me just see if I can find it clear. When he spoke about this word bu'thirat, let me just see where it's mentioned. He said actually that the word bu'thirat is actually an let me just check out this one more quickly. One second. Do you know what the word idafi means? What does idafi mean? What does like mudaf ilayhi mean? What does the word mudaf mean?
Something showing possession?
Something showing possession or something showing attribution. Something showing possession and something showing attribution. So here he mentions, actually I didn't know that you actually have that, is that he says that the word ba'thara is actually an idafi word. In other words, it's a murakkab made, it's a word made from two words. So in Arabic, I didn't know this before actually, is that a word can be made from two words. So he says here that the word ba'tharat comes from, let me just write it down for you. It comes from the word ba'atha. What's the meaning of ba'atha? Ba'ath, you must know.
Raise.
To raise. So ba'atha also means to send as well, also means to raise. So ba'atha, you can see, is one word. Ba'atha is one word. And then we have the word ithara. Was the word ithara, I think you mentioned here. Let me just make sure that I think it was ithara, yes. And ithara means like to stir up, to like excite, to agitate. What did he mention here? He says ithara, yes. So he mentioned here that where's the thigh? Yeah, ithara. Isn't it interesting? He's saying the word ba'tharat. Can you see the word ba'atha is there? The word ba'atha is in ba'tharat. And then he's saying that the ba'atha part of the word comes from one word ba'atha. And the ra part of the word ba'thara, the type of just feminine, but the ra part of it comes from the word ithara. So in other words, because this word comes from two words, it has actually two meanings. Or it has a, let's call it an idafi, a combined or murakkab, not idafi, may say murakkab meaning. A murakkab meaning. So what does ba'atha mean? Ba'atha means to raise something. So if you have a grave, what happens? The grave is raised up. Meaning what? The grave comes to the surface. And the word ithara means when something is excited or agitated or like disturbed. So in other words, it's raised to the surface and the grave is agitated, like it's disturbed. It's like brought up and brought to life in a sense, or brought to. It's not just like passively brought up. There's something happening to it as well. So it's interesting. This word bu'thirat is when the graves are, and also mean inqalab, but also means to like be turned over as well. So the grave is going to be brought to the top and turned over, so the person will basically come out of the grave. علمت نفس ما قدمت وأخرت. علمت will know. فاعل for علمت is going to be نفس. A soul, a person, a human being, a soul will know. So علمت is the fi'l, نفس is the fa'il, and ma is the maf'ul bihi. Ma, that which قدمت, it, the nafs, قدمت. What does قدمت mean? And أخرت.
Qaddamat is to send forward, and akharat is behind.
So what does it actually mean?
Um,
So the word, yes,
I
the
think
word
it-
قدمت means send forward, and أخرت means to leave something behind or delay something. So what does it actually mean? Like when someone
I
comes
think
to
it-
Qiyamah, what is قدمت, what's أخرت?
So what's in front of you potentially are your good deeds, or rather your deeds, and what you've left behind is the material things of this world. That could be one interpretation.
Okay, good. What else? I haven't read it in Tafsir though, but I mean, let me give you the Tafsir meanings afterwards. What else do you understand by that? قدمت وأخرت. What are those things? When you come to Qiyamah and Allah says, علمت نفس ما قدمت وأخرت, what is Allah actually referring to? Anybody?
Non è possibile. that which you've done and that what you haven't done or left behind.
Good. So the one meaning could be qaddamat means to send something forward. For example, if I take some money and I give a poor person whatever 20 rand, then basically I have sent a good deed forward to Qiyamah. Akharat means I see a poor person and I have a 20 rand, I don't give it. Akharat, I delay, I leave it behind. So in other words, akharat can actually mean the lack of a deed. Because I didn't do the deed, I basically left that action behind. So that can be one meaning. What other meaning could you come to? So Hassan also mentioned here, every soul that's sent forth and that which is left undone. What else could it mean as well? Anybody? Qaddamat and akhirat can also mean qaddamat could also mean that things which was done early in one's life, and akhirat from the word akhirat, like next or last, that which was done late in one's life. So ma qaddamat wa akhirat, which you did early in your life, that which you also did late in your life, or the second meaning I mentioned, that which was sent forward and that which was held back or delayed or wasn't done basically, or left undone. So that there is the first part of the surah. That will be the first part of the surah. What type of construction is this here? This first part. Is it an oath or what is it? How are they all connected, the first part?
Speaking about the future.
They're speaking about the future, but in terms of the grammatical construction or the linguistic construction. Okay, it's going to be a shart. For example, if I say, when I get up, and when I get my pen, and when I get my book, can I end there?
Now there must be a then.
You have to be a then. So in other words, when. Now where's the whens and where's the thens here?
So all the idars are whens, like in the previous surah.
Yes.
And then
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 wins. And then how many thens?
1.
1 then. So we have 4 wins and 1 then. What do we have in the previous surah? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Sorry, I must have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 wins. 12 wins, and then we had a then. And now we have 4 wins, and then we have a then. So which one are the wins more emphasized? It'll be in the previous surah. Because in the previous surah we have 12 wins. Win this, win this, win this, win this. Here we only have 4 wins, and then we have the then. One of the reasons for that could be that this surah is actually it comes after the previous surah. In other words, so there's less need for the same amount of emphasis because there's already been much of it has already been said. So there's less need for that degree of wins because this surah comes a bit later. Good. Next thing, tell me something about the verbs of that first part. What's peculiar about the verbs?
Feminine, Maulana.
Okay, they're all feminine, which is what, okay. One thing could be peculiar is that they're all feminine, yes.
And
What
they
else?
all
What else?
I can see it's all rat. It's like
Okay, good. They're all feminine. They're all in with the ta femininity. What else about them? What else is peculiar
All
about it?
natural phenomena.
Past tense.
In terms of all of these things here, many of them will be natural phenomena.
And they
But there's something else about it.
They appear to be in past tense.
They appear to be, or they are in past tense.
They are in past tense.
They are in past tense. Infitarat is past tense. Intatharat is past tense. Fujirat is past tense. Bu'thirat is past tense. Qaddamat is past tense. Akhrat is past tense. In fact, is there a present tense with a ta and a sukun? You know your present tense verb, eh? Yaf'alu, yaf'aluna, taf'alu, taf'aluna, and so on. Is it one of the sukun and the ta?
I'm going to say no.
You say no. So let's try inshallah. Yaf'alu, yaf'aluna, taf'alu, yaf'alna, taf'alu, taf'aluna, taf'alina, taf'alna, af'alu, naf'alu. In other words, no present tense verbs ends with the ta with the sukun. It's always going to be a past tense verb. So we can definitely say that it's all, even the alimat as well is a past tense verb. So why all the past tense verbs? Is this happening in the past or the future?
In the past.
Is it happening in the past? Like إذا السماء انفطرت والكواكب
Future.
It's the
It's going
future.
to happen in the
Yes,
future.
it's going to happen in the future, but we're using the past again for emphasis, for like tahqiq, because it's as if it has happened already. Good. Next question. Which of these happened before the trumpet blow and which happened after the trumpet blow? The second trumpet of resurrection. Remember in sequence, there's the end of the world, and then there's the flattening of the earth, and then there's resurrection.
So the first three will be after the first trumpet, and then idan ubur bu'thirat will be after the second trumpet.
Okay, Kubur Bu'thra will be our second trumpet in terms if that's referring to the resurrection. So that's a 3-2-1. What was it in this case? I can't remember actually.
It was 6-6, I think. 6 before Qiyam, 6 after.
So 6-6. So here we have a 3 of them are before the trumpet blow and 1 of them are after the trumpet blow. They're all in the past tense and they are all referring to the future. So that's the end of the first section. Then the next section begins here. Ya ayyuhal insanu ma gharraka bi rabbikal kareem. Ya ayyuhal insan. Ya ayyuhal insan. What does ya ayyuhal insan mean?
Addressing or calling insan.
Addressing or calling insan. So when you address or call someone, how do you address or call someone in Arabic? You say ya ayyuha. How else can you call someone?
You just say
You
yeah,
call
Maulana.
someone. You say yeah. So in other words, you can say yeah to address someone. You can say ya ayyuha. What's the difference between ya and ya ayyuha? If you have a son, do you say ya ayyuhal walad or you say ya walad?
Ya walad.
Ya walad. So why do you say ya walad, not ya ayyuhal walad?
It's a personal, Maulana.
Good. So the ya on its own is like a more kind of a personal, a closer type of address, whereas a ya ayyuha is a more formal address. And with formality, there's also distance as well, because formality is more distance. So in other words, in this address here, you can see by the tone of the address, it's not a close, personal, intimate. Like for example, Allah would say, "Ya ibadi." What's "Ya ibadi"?
Oh, my slave.
Oh, my slave.
Oh my slave. So "Ya ibadi," you can see that "Ya" there is not "Ya ayyuhal ibadi." It's "Ya ayyuha ibadi." It's "Ya ibadi." In other words, there it's a more close address because "Ya oh my slave" is like it's closer, it's shorter, it's more direct. Whereas "Ya ayyu," like "Kul ya ayyuhal kafirun," like it's a very formal address. So in this case here, Allah is formally addressing al-insan. So why would Allah adopt a formal address? In which type of context? The answer is in ما غرك بربك الكريم.
It's like Allah is issuing a threat, and in that, this distance that Allah places between Himself and man.
Okay, good. So in other words, who do you think the primary al-insan here is?
Those who disbelieved.
Those who disbelieve. In other words, obviously it's for the general reader. Allah is addressing the general reader. Ya ayyuhal insan. But specifically, actually, it is a rebuke for those who disbelieve. And the rebuke is, why did you disbelieve? Ya ayyuhal insan. Oh mankind, oh human beings. But specifically those human beings who associated partners with Allah Ta'ala or denied Allah's existence, Allah is specifically actually speaking to them because Allah says, Ma gharraka bi rabbikal kareem. Ma gharraka. What does ma gharraka mean? The word gharra should be familiar because from the word ghurur. Gharraka, yes, means to. So answer here means to deceive. So what does ma gharraka mean? Ma means what? It's a question. So in other words, this here is going to be a speech, like a speech bubble, quotation marks here. Ma, what has gharraka? What has deceived you? So ghurur is what? Ghurur is deception. What's the meaning of deception? How do you define deception?
When something has been promised to you, when in actual fact it's not that thing.
Okay, but in terms of your perception of something, so you promised something and it didn't happen, so you were deceived. How else can you when you say someone is deceived, like someone is deceived by the world or deceived by their belief or something?
It appears one way, but it's not actually that way.
Good. So ghurur is basically when something appears one way, but in reality it's not actually that way. So Allah is asking you, Ma, what gharraka? What has made something appear one way and that one is actually not the real way? Like what has given you this false belief? Bi Rabbikal Kareem. Bi. What does Bi Rabbikal Kareem mean?
About your Lord.
Good. So in other words, you can be deceived about or regarding about or regarding. So in other words, when you have a ba, the ba can be like the B here, for example. The B here can be for about or regarding, or the B can be by something. By. If the B is like that, I think it's what's called. I think it's called mulabasa. So mulabasa, I think mulabasa, and this B here is called sababiyya. For example, if I say gharra ar-rajulu bid-dunya, or say bil mal, what's the meaning of that? Which
Man
B
is
am I
deceived
referring
by the
to?
world. I.
So in other words, this is the B, the by or due. So here I'm what I intend by this here is causation. Are you with me? And here is I attend with like regarding or affiliation. I'm going off the screen there. Anyway, so in other words, you get two types of B's. So the question is, which B is this? Is the person being deceived by Allah, or is the person being deceived regarding Allah?
Regarding
The first one, regarding Allah.
Regarding Allah. So in other words, when you come across a B, you have to almost like decide which B are we speaking about, the sababiyya B or the mulabasa B. So in other words, ya ayyuhal insan, oh mankind, oh human beings, especially those human beings who have been deceived. Allah asks them, ma gharraka, what has caused you to become become deceived? B, mulabasa, regarding, about or regarding. Rabbika, your Lord, your Master. Al-Kareem. What's Al-Kareem mean?
Most generous.
It means both noble and also means generous as well. The one that gives, and the one that gives the person. So what is Allah actually asking people about? I think this is like an interesting question to ask people. Is Allah saying, okay, obviously the intention is that they are deceived, but what's Allah asking them about? Is Allah asking them about their deception or about the causes of their deception?
It's the causes.
causes.
So in other words, it's like quite interesting, because I think that's like almost like a psychological question. Do you know what I mean? Because you can ask someone about, like if you go to a psychologist, do they ask you about the symptoms or the reason for the symptoms?
The reasons, that's what I try to get to.
They get to get the reasons. So in other words, Allah is actually asking that question in this ayah. Allah is saying, Ya ayyuhal insan, ma gharraka. No. Allah can see that you're deceived. Allah is asking not about your deception. Allah is asking you, what has caused your deception? What has been like the root cause of your inverting reality? Your inverting reality. Bi Rabbika al-Kareem, about your Lord. And what did Allah say? Add the sifa Kareem to it. Why add the sifa
What?
Kareem to it?
Aren't those reasons going to follow now, Monona?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's how I understood.
but why say Kareem to someone who has been deceived?
Because they probably deny the generosity and nobleness of Allah.
Because the one that they are being deceived about, the one that their reality is being inverted about, is actually the one that is most generous towards them. Because you can be deceived about something which actually has no impact on you. Are you with me? You can be deceived about something that has no impact on you. Yeah, okay, you're deceived about that. Okay, that's fine. But yeah, if you're deceived about something which has a huge impact on you, that's like a very problematic deception. Let me give you like a simile.
Ultimate deception.
Ultimate deception. Like for example, let's say like you are married. Okay, so you say married. Hypothetically speaking, someone is married. Then they are deceived about their neighbor or their colleague. That's like one level. But I mean, there might not be a big effect. But now they're deceived about their partner. You can see like when that person has a huge effect on you, then the weight of it is it's much more greater. So Allah is saying, you are deceived about me, whilst I am Al-Kareem. I'm actually the one that is gifting and looking after you all the time, and this is the being you choose to be deceived about. Alladhi, the one that, sifa, carries on. Alladhi khalaqaka fasawwaka fa'adalaka. So what is khalaqaka? He
Created you.
created you. In other words, he created a form, he created life. He put you into being. Fasawwaka, what's sawwa?
Shape or fashion.
So taswiyah actually means to make things equal, to make things balanced, and also has the idea of actually making something, let's call it, healthy and functional. So Allah made you healthy, Allah made you functional. Allah gave you those things. And adalaka, It's actually very close to Sawwa as well.
Balance proportions.
Adala from the word justice, like to make even, to also similar to Sawwa, but adalaka means to make something also balanced, to make something proportion. So adalaka means like to give you 2 arms and 2 legs and so on, to make your being just and your being basically proportioned. Then Allah says, في أي سورة ما شاء ركبك. I was actually trying to understand this, because did you understand this as, okay, let's go to the question, the translation first. Fi means in. Ayyi means which. Surah, what does surah mean?
Form or shape.
A form or shape. You can see then on top here, if it's a surah with a scene, then that means a chapter, or a chapter of the Quran. Whereas from the surah with a sad, it means a form or a shape. So don't confuse the two. The one's a surah and the one's a surah. So fi ayyi suratin, and in which shape, ma sha'a, that which he wanted, rakkabak means like to put something together. He put you together. So do you understand this as a question or as a statement?
Statement.
Yeah, the same.
Some
Actually,
translations translate it as a question.
But I see that, yes.
I didn't actually check the translations on this. Let me just see what I was checking with the first in some translations. So let me just check here in this one here what they. Let me go to, I think this best way to go here. Okay, we are Infitaar. So let's just see what they have here. في أي سورة ما شاء ركبك. Molding you in whatever form you willed, question. In whatever shape you willed, he assembled you. He composed you in whichever form he willed. In whatever form you willed, you put together. Oh, this has got like a tafsir in translation here. He created you, he favored you as he did not create you in the form of donkey, monkey, dog, or other form. Actually, I don't like it when they kind of mix up like tafsir and translation. Anyway, he composed you in whichever form you willed. In whichever form he so does, he compounds you in whatever form he. So basically, there's basically understandings as a statement and understandings as a question. So let's try and understand both of those perspectives, inshallah. So
Could I ask a question?
no.
Could these next two, verse 7 and verse 8, not be qualifying the Al-Karim? Because you have that Ismu, Alladhi, the one who.
Yes. So basically, and Alladhi is generally always, like most times, connected to what comes before it. So in this case here, if you want to look up say you're not sure about an Alladhi, the best place to go to is probably Quran Hive, and you go to, let's go to the surah quickly. Let me go back here. Because I think the secretaries haven't seen the grammar analysis in here yet, but maybe a good time to introduce it. I always find it's difficult to read across. We are here. Is going down or across now? What's going on here? Column. Oh, it's going down. Okay, here we go. So when you come across, well, you can do for anything basically. But if you go to learn and you go to, so if you click on the surah here, on the verse here, الذي خلقك فسواك فعدلك, and we go to learn and you go to Arab grammar, it will then tell you الذي is صفة ثانية لربك. So when it is a صفة ثانية, what's the meaning of صفة ثانية? Irshad, Bismillah.
Not sure, Malala.
Second sifa.
No, Irshad, you must know what صفة means.
No, so Sifa, no, not Sifa, Thania.
And ثانية from اثنين. اثنين.
It's like, Malala, too much holidays.
Hey, واحد اثنين ثلاثة. You must know it.
Second.
اثنين from the second. So basically what's happening here is that this year is sifa number 1. So this year will be sifa number 2. So what has deceived you about your Rabb? Who is this Rabb? He is Al-Kareem and he is Alladhi. So in other words, this is definitely connected to the previous verse. الذي خلقك فسواك فعدلك. So what you, and in the tafsir, they basically say that this year can be connected to this part here. In other words, this year can be this part here, or this part can be this can be connected to this part here. So meaning what? الذي خلقك فسواك فعدلك في أي سورة, in whichever shape ما شاء ركبك, he willed. Or this can be connected to only this year, meaning what? ما شاء ركبك في أي سورة. ما شاء, whichever he willed, he formed you in any shape he wanted. So in other words, in terms of connection, it can either connect to the previous verse, or it can say that there's a stop here and there's a new statement or a new question. في أي سورة ما شاء ركبك. Or it can be خلقك فسواك فعدلك في أي سورة ما شاء ركبك. Like in terms of meaning, like it could be flowing from the previous one, or it could be a new statement. Then when Allah is asking this question or making this statement, what does Allah actually mean في أي سورة? How do you translate that? في أي سورة? And what do you understand by that?
There is a choice of one particular form or shape, which is the best for that person or object.
Okay, so in other words, the one meaning could actually indicate towards best. Let's um, you know, something like when you ask someone like a rhetorical question, like maybe a father builds a house, and then he gives a house to his son, and then 10 years later he comes and his son has run down the house. Then the father says, "In which condition did I leave this house to you?" What does the father mean?
Did I leave it to you in this condition?
But what's he saying about the condition he left it in?
It's worse than what he left it in.
Okay, so he's saying that when he handed out the house was in a good condition.
A better
You with me?
condition, I don't know. Yeah.
Or good or better condition. So the one understanding of fi ayyi suratin means in which form, meaning what, like almost like a statement of wonder. Like, look at yourselves, your proportion, your balance, how Allah khalaqaka fasawwaka fa'adalaka, and in which form, like you know, almost like it's a rhetorical question, like in which amazing form ma sha'a rakkabak, as he willed to create you. Are you with me on that one? So it can be like a rhetorical device to indicate how amazing your form is. That could be the one understanding of fi ayyi suratin. What could be another understanding? For example, if you translate fi ayyi suratin in whichever form. Like for example, هو
literal
الذي
sense,
يصوركم في الأرحام كيف يشاء. Okay,
in a
on.
literal sense, Maulana, could it mean that Allah had a choice to make us look however He wanted us to look?
And do you all look the same?
No, we all look different.
In other words, the second meaning of that could not mean, maybe not best. The second meaning could actually be there to indicate towards choice. Choice and variety. Meaning what? Allah khalaqaka, He created you, fasawwaka, and He proportioned you, fa'adalaka, and He balanced you, fi ayyi suratin, in whichever of forms, ma sha'a, that which He willed, rakkabak, to create you. Meaning what? If He willed you to be tall, you were tall. If He willed you to be short, you were short. If He willed you to be a certain skin color, He willed you. If He willed you to have certain features, He willed you. In other words, the fi ayi suratin can be there for choice or variety, or it can mean in terms of the best and the most noble. So both of those, depending on how you understand the words, basically. So fi ayi shay'in, in whichever form, or in which form, could basically mean both of those. Ma sha'a, ma, form, that which, sha'a, He willed, rakkabak. Rakkabak means what?
Put together.
To put together, to build something together, to put level after level. So rakkabak, He built, or He fashioned you. Then Allah says, Kalla bal tukadhibuna bid-din. Kalla bal. When Allah says kalla, what does kalla normally mean?
Negation.
Negation of something and then affirmation. Like no, like your beliefs of partners are kalla, or no, bal, rather your attitude is what? Tukadhibuna bid-din. You are constantly denying and belying ad-din, the faith. So in terms of break, the break will either be there, but preferably the break will actually be here. So in other words, this is the first break, which is speaking about the year after. Then the second part is speaking about what? The year after this world. First part is speaking about the year after. Second part is speaking about what?
This world.
This world.
This
This world.
the
And what
deception
about
of
this world here? Deception and Allah's
creative ability.
Allah's favor upon
Allah's
us.
favor. I want to see how this compares to the previous surah. I can't remember. So in this one here, there was the next world, and then there was also
Same.
a similar kind. Allah spoke about some of the favors here, wal-layli was-subhi, and then Allah spoke about the favor of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Quran and the Messenger. And here Allah speaking about the favors here, but the favors here are different. Allah doesn't speak about the Messenger, the Quran. The favor here is what? الذي خلق الكريم الذي خلقك فسواك فعدلك في أي سورة ما شاء ركبك. So it's like a similar, let's say like a similar, speaking about the end, speaking about the deception, and speaking about their favors. Barakallah. So I think I'm going to end there for today, inshallah, and we will continue next week, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Are there any comments or questions? Any other general comments or questions about anything?
Well, now what will be the time? Will we get confirmation on the timetable for returning to class?
Yes, you'll definitely get confirmation on the timetable. So I will confirm all of those things, inshallah. In the week, I'm going to speak to the mosque as well, shortly as well.
Okay, shukran.
Will
Also, I want to
everyone be
advise-
coming back, Malana? The first years also?
I'm not sure. I'm still thinking about the first years, but definitely the second, third, and Dawrah years will be coming back. The second years, how far are you with Nahu now? I think you're busy with. You finish your sub, eh?
بس
كان
سلام
كان من أخواتي.
Okay, so
He was
basically what happened, yeah. So basically what happens is that the first years are ending with all the Rafun things, and then basically I know the third year, let's call it the third years of this year must still do all the Nas things. So basically we start doing the Nas things just after the first year, after the second year is finished, the Rafun things. Then the whole class will go through all the Nasb and the Jar and the followers as well, just to make sure that we complete the Nahu syllabus together, inshallah. The other thing I want to also just mention was that because Rabiul Awwal, you know, these, I know a lot of people say that, and I agree with the statement that that you know, you don't only love the Prophet in this month, you love him throughout the year and throughout your life, and I agree with those statements. However, as human beings, we need like events and occasions to focus and to refocus. This is from the Sunnah of like Ramadan, the Sunnah of Hajj, of Umrah, of Salah. Allah gives us points to focus and refocus. And within our tradition, Rabiul Awwal has been a moment where we refocus on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So my advice is that you can do whatever you want to do of this month, but I mean, it's compulsory for you to follow Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it's separately compulsory for you to love him as well. So like there's one compulsion to make ittiba, to follow him, and there's another compulsion, and there are verses for both, for you to love him and to be attached to him and to long for him and to have a connection to him sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And one should be sure that we are trying to do both. We're trying to live a life like he lived, but we're also connecting to the person himself sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And one of my kind of those of you know for a while is that I really recommend like to read the Shama'il. That if you go to sunnah.com, it's one of the hadith websites, and you go to Ash-Shama'il Muhammadiyya, with your families, in your homes, the Shama'il is basically different from the Seerah. The Seerah is the biography of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like his birth, his life in Makkah, Medina, his death, and so on. Whereas the Shama'il is about his physical characteristics and his personality characteristics. So we did it at Mizan many years ago. Were any of you in the Shama'il classes at Mizan? Or was that the previous generation?
Yes, I remember that
Maulana.
one.
It's like old tightness, Nuran. Yeah. When was that?
I don't know, maybe
I thought you,
2015 or 2014.
okay, this was many, many years ago. We used to do Shama'il at Mizan a long time ago, 5 years ago. But I do advise you, if you look at some of the headings here, many things about the physical features of the like of the Prophet is his hair, his dressing, his living, his shoes, his armor, his lungi, his turban, his eating, his sleeping, and then also like many things about his personality, which I also really enjoyed as well. In terms of his speech, in terms of his laughing, his joking, his saying of poetry, he's telling stories at night, he's sleeping, and also his devotion as well. Fasting, recitation, his emotion as well, the weeping of Rasulullah, the humility, the character, the modesty, the names, his standard of living, his death, his legacy, and seeing him in the dream. So many hundreds of hadith about him, and you kind of get to know the Prophet intimately when you read the Shama'il. So I do encourage you to read it, or there should be a number of online videos, classes about it, lessons about it. But sometimes it's just a matter of actually doing it. You know, it's not about having the resources, it's actually about going through the journey. And I do encourage you to try to go through the journey of the Shama'il as well as the journey of the Seerah as well. Those are kind of the main things we do about Rasulullah is his life and his characteristics of him, and then obviously salawat and attachment to him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Such my advice just for the students and for the families. We must make it a month of also learning about him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Good. Any questions or comments before we close? Okay, I think we're all good, inshallah. So we will continue next week, inshallah ta'ala. May Allah bless and protect all of you. Please keep us in your du'as. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وعليكم السلام.
Salam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.